This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Alicia. Could I ask everyone, if you're not speaking, to please turn your mic off? It makes it really hard to transcribe these minutes with all the background noise in it. So all these little green lights that show up that your mic is on, will you please mute them so that we can move forward? Does everyone know how to mute their mic? Does no one care to mute their mic?
I'm muted.
And that's good.
Muted.
Thank you. Just makes it easier when the girls have to transcribe these things. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is the clerk is going to read the rules for a public hearing. We adopted these at our annual meeting in December, and we just want to refresh your memory and bring you up to date. So Joanne, would you please share that with the people that have called in?
Yes, each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. A speaker may not be permitted to relinquish all or any part of his or her allotted time to another speaker. Written comments may be accepted and included with the meeting. They may but do not have to be read aloud at the hearing. All comments by any speaker must be addressed to the mayor and village trustees, as there shall be no dialogue or open debate between members of the public during the hearing. Each speaker must introduce himself or her by name and address. It is required that one who wishes to speak at any hearing must sign in on the meeting sign-in sheet and complete the request to address the board form. Elected or appointed officials will be heard first, followed by the general public. Each speaker is limited to a single opportunity to address the village board. Depending on the subject matter at hand, a speaker selected to represent a particular position may be given up to 20 minutes to present their points to the floor, followed by an equal opportunity for a representative from the opposing viewpoint. Only one speaker shall have the floor at a time, and others present shall remain silent until it is their opportunity to speak. No demonstrations shall be permitted which will disrupt the hearing. If anyone has demonstration signs, they will be required to leave them at a location designated by the mayor. Disturbances may result in the suspension of the hearing and the removal of any offending party at the sole discretion of the mayor. The mayor may limit a speaker to less than 5 minutes if his or her comments are repetitive and have already been addressed by another speaker.
Thank you, Joanne. With that, we will open the public hearing at 5:34. And this public hearing is going to be on our budget that we have prepared for the next fiscal year. This morning at 6:15, I received 23 questions from Paul Luck that I have right here, which will be made part of this meeting. We'll attach them to that. We didn't have an opportunity today to address all these issues. So, Paul, we will get back to you with your questions. Do you want to speak, Paul, in regards to this at all, or?
Will your response be in writing, Norma?
I'm sorry? Sure. I mean, there's a lot of things here that we could answer just off the cuff, but some of them have got to take some time. And
Norma, I'm just asking if your response will be in writing.
We'll get them together. We need to, the treasurer and the accounting firm wasn't included on the email, but I have shared it with them. So we'll get these questions addressed and get them back to you.
My question only is, you asked if I had anything to say. My question is, will your response be in writing to me?
They can be. They can
I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so anyone else there that would like to speak to the budget? No one? out here is on regarding the budget for the next fiscal year.
Yes,
Okay.
I've got a question. I noticed that in the expenditure, especially for the water district, there was an expenditure of $185,000 that was being planned. And it wasn't clear to me during the last board meeting what exactly that was going to provide to the village in the way of savings and efficiency. Could you expand on that, please? This is Alan Heberling.
Star and Thomas are both on the phone. I think you're referring to the upgrade to the meter system. Does that?
And how will that be better than what currently is in place?
What comes up on mine is Joe Chrisman, and this is Alan that's speaking.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that Thomas, or would you like to speak to it, or Star, on all the things that would make this whole system better?
This is Star, and I can start, and then if Thomas wants to jump in.
Sure.
So this Badger meter upgrade is intended to upgrade our current system, which is a mobile read technology, which means the operator staff have to drive around with a transmitter that picks up readings. And that only happens 3 times a year with the billing cycle. And upgrading to the cellular auto read would allow the water quality supervisor to see the readings of each meter that are updated actually 4 times a day. It also gives us the health of each meter, so we'll know the day that a meter stops working or is about to freeze or is showing unusually high usage. This is particularly important to detect leaks, because right now with our current system, we don't know if there's a leak in the system basically until the next meter read. And we can't inform our customers that they're having a problem until potentially 3 or 4 months after the problem started. So upgrading to this cellular read will help us detect leaks faster, which is going to save water. We have, right now we can't see when we're losing water. And we're also going to be able to figure out when we have other problems with the meter. For instance, the meter stops working or it's broken, so we need to go out and fix it. Yeah, so these are some advantages that right now, customers are surprised when they get a high water bill. Daily what the health of the entire water system is. And this upgrade is only going to require us to change out the sensor, not the meters. So what's nice is the village invested in meters a couple of years ago. Those meters are still viable. We can still use those. We'll just need to change the sensors to the cellular enabled, which again is also an advantage. A couple of years ago, the village was looking at doing auto read technology, but the technology at the time required the village to purchase radio towers that they would have to install and maintain. Whereas now the technology exists that allows us to just use a cellular tower, so the village does not have to purchase or maintain additional infrastructure to have this auto read technology. Thomas, do you want to jump in?
So then I guess the other part, Alan, to answer your question, so that as far as the leak detection, I guess and we shared this with the board earlier last year, there's the water produced at the water plant versus what obviously goes through the meter. And so all the water produced that doesn't go through meters is lost in system leaks. And so in addition to helping the homeowners locate leaks within their own system, as small leaks develop throughout the summer, we'll be able to identify those and reduce the amount of water we have to actually produce. A lot of times, unless it's a major leak where it comes up through the ground, the guys can see that, hey, our water production has increased, but there's no way to know for sure if it is just people using more water, or if it's actually we have a leak in the system. So by having these cellular-based system, we'll know exactly, hey, we have an issue out in the system. We need to go and start spending additional time and try to hunt down where that is.
Right, okay. And is there going to be a surcharge that's going to be applied to every water user's account to pay for the administration of this system?
Do you want to respond to that,
So-
Star? That was like,
Yes.
some places use that, and we had made that decision.
Yeah, so it would be essentially what comes out to $10 per meter per year. And some municipalities do put that $10 charge on each meter's bill. Other municipalities carry that charge as part of the system costs, like annual service costs. So the village hasn't actually decided how they're going to handle that $10 per meter annual charge, but it's not a large surcharge.
I
This
took,
is
Okay,
Jim
and-
Chrisman. I thought we did discuss that, and we were going to cover the charge, not the residents. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't believe that that's what was decided, but I don't remember that as part of, unless you guys discussed that after I got off the last meeting.
no, I
No.
know we did talk about it, but did not make a decision, is how, we can
That's-
look it up, but it's still out there to talk about. I went up to Cape Vincent. They have this system. They had it a few years, so they have to use the tower and not the new system that we're looking at. And they only have 505 meters where we have over 1,000. But they just can't say enough about how much more efficient this is. Every morning they can look and see where there's an issue. And it's really good for the real estate people. They always are looking for a bill. If there's a change in property within that 4-month period, you can bring that up. There's just a lot of features that are going to be extremely helpful. And the leaks that happen that people don't realize, and 4 months is a long time before they get discovered sometimes. So we're going to
I
keep
guess-
looking at it.
And I guess, Alan, also, there's a way that each homeowner can go on and sign on, and you can see, so if you have 5 accounts, you can see all 5 of your accounts, and it'll give you, and then if you have questions, I'll be able to pull back and go and give you information at the water plant of, okay, when did the leak actually start?
Good point, Tom. I'm glad you brought that up.
So
Does that
one
answer your
last
questions,
question.
Alan?
Yeah, just one last question. I noticed that the unassigned water fund has almost, it would have over $600,000 if the system's put in place. Would that amount of unassigned fund balance be used to offset the surcharge that each meter would incur per year?
That could be considered, sure.
Okay, that's the last of my
I think
question.
that we had figured it would save about 300 man hours a year to have this system rather than have them drive around and then every 4 months have to go and find all these issues that have cropped up over the 4-month period too. Okay? Is there
Okay, thank you.
anyone? Sure. Is there anyone else out there that has any questions on the budget?
Norma, I'd just like to introduce a couple things in my list of questions. I appreciate that you're going to get back to me at a later date, but just for the public record tonight, I'd just like to make a couple comments with respect to the budget assumption, hitting on what Alan said, which is the water fund balance, which is going to be over $600,000 if this meter project is approved, which is just about 100% of fiscal year 2022 budgeted metered revenue. Now, as we talked before, New York State law allows the water fund surpluses to be transferred to the unassigned fund to stabilize and avoid tax increases, build a rainy day reserve, or, in this case, potentially reduce water billings. I believe that an appropriate balance for this reserve would be about 30% of annual billings, or about $200,000, which on my calculation implies about a $400,000 surplus. So it's very important, I think, for the public to understand what the board's position is on these plans for these funds, and should water rates be reduced to prevent undue burden on residents and business owners. So I'm certainly interested in that one. And I also just want to point out that Article 506F of New York State Consolidated Law states that the villages are, as a requirement of the budget process, provide a schedule of wages and salaries by administrative units and for each office and position. So I would hope that we would provide that as part of the budget process as we move through this.
That
And
was one of
finally,
your questions,
I
right?
think it's important that the village consider a long-term comprehensive capital plan to avoid exposure to significant unforeseen risk. We don't have one, and I'm hoping the board is going to commit to developing a comprehensive plan in FY 2022.
Thank you, Paul. Is there anyone else? If not, could I have a motion to close the public hearing? Nancy, Joe, Jeremy, somebody?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, Nancy, to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Jeremy, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Point of order.
Okay, thank you
With
very
that,
much.
Alan?
Yeah, point of order. According to your agenda, you were going to do an override tax levy limit.
Yeah, we're just closing the public hearing, Alan. That's the next thing we're going to do.
Okay, it's just the way it's presented in the agenda. Sorry.
So the public hearing was closed at 5:47. Okay, Joanne, on the local law for the tax cap levy, do you want to present that, please?
Yes. It's the local law that we have every year to do the tax cap levy. It is the intent of this local law to allow the village of Clayton to adopt a budget for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2021 that requires a real property tax levy in excess of the tax levy limit as defined by general municipal law. This local law is adopted pursuant to subdivision 5 of general municipal law, which expressly authorizes a local government's governing body to override the property tax cap for the coming fiscal year by adoption of the local law approved by a vote of 60%. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Clayton is hereby authorized to adopt a budget for fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2021, that requires a real property tax levy in excess of the amount otherwise described in general municipal law.
Okay, you're going to do a roll call vote on that, please?
Yeah. Mayor,
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Crispin,
No.
Trustee Kellogg,
Yes.
Ryan. Okay, moving right along here to the regular meeting. Is Lori Duran from the Coffee Cove on?
I am.
Okay, Lori, do you want to present to the board what you would like to do down there? And the only thing that the board has jurisdiction over is the fence, because it is going to be on the village right away. And that's the only thing we can approve or disapprove. The rest of it has to be done with code enforcement. Normally, they do that first and then send it to us, but for some reason, Richard recommended that she send it to the village board first. So, Lori, do you want to explain to the board what you're doing down there?
Yeah. So with this project, I have gained about 3 feet in the front of the restaurant, so it gives me a lot more walkable space. So I'd like to delineate so that the people in the tables stay where the people in the tables should stay, which would be within like 7 feet of the building. That would give an easy or extra 5.5 feet of walkable space and still give 4 foot for the lighting that we're not entirely clear what it's going to look like yet. So I gave them 4 foot from the curb. Well, for the curb not included, then a 4 foot for the lighting fixture, however that may look, then 5.5 feet of wide open space for the walkability. And then I've asked for a railing, which would be a removable railing with sleeves in the concrete, so the whole thing could be picked up and moved for any sort of repairs or anything, maintenance that the village or National Grid or anybody had to do, and could be cleaned and all that kind of thing. And that's pretty much the gist of it, hoping that, because last year one of my problems was, first of all, the sidewalk was such a mess that people moved the tables because they were able to level them, and then they just moved them anyway and put them in the walkway, which I was trying to kind of get around. So I've got the approval from the state to do the heated sidewalk part, so we're good with that. So I'm hoping to kind of do a bit of an enclosure for the people just with the railing system to keep the tables closer to the building the way they should be. And I've offered openings both from the north side, the south side, and then 2 on the east side, so that it's not, you know, a cattle structure of some sort. It's actually just more of a, like, people can walk in and out, but where people from that are not customers can walk by the end. I guess that's my best description. Is there anything to that? Oops, sorry.
I hate to sound ignorant, but I'm fairly confused as to what you're doing and where the village board plays a part in this.
Well, you're no more
I mean, I've
confused than
looked
me
at your
because I've told
drawings.
everything. Yeah.
Pardon me?
I've been told everything from go to a village board meeting to possibly have to go to planning to nobody really knows what a clear plan is if you want to just do something like this. So I'm punting all the way around and just putting it in front of you because that's what Dickie said. And then he also said I might have to go to the planning board. So I'm just putting it out there. So what it is I have 16 feet in front of the Coffee Cove now, where before I didn't have that distance. And before I had the chairs and tables out there. And people would kind of pull them all around, and then I'd have to every day, every so often, go out and pull them back so that they weren't in the walk area, so that there's a clear 5 foot or more than 5 foot, whatever it is, walkability area. So the tables and chairs would be out there, but the removable fence, gate, whatever you want to call it, would keep them off the walkway. So it's 4 foot for the light, for the whatever kind of decorative light we have, 5.5 feet for walkability, 7 feet for tables and chairs.
The board has been presented before where people want to put a fence up, the Lyric and Bella's, because of the right-of-way, the village right-of-way. That's the only thing that we have to approve, is the ability to put the fence up is okay with the village. And we have given permission before for other people to do that. And then it'll have to go, Richard's the one that told me to have her come here first, so then they can massage this thing and do what they want. But if the village makes their decision, then they don't have to come back to us.
This is Joe Chrisman. I thought this was discussed last year or the year before about Bella's and the Coffee Cove. or not the Coffee Cove, but the Lyric, about fences being in the DOT right of way.
I get it was, but the problem was either one of them have 5 foot of walkability.
I guess that's my biggest concern. As long as it's not in that DOT right of way, that's my only concern.
I would suppose that it is in the DOT walk right away. Being removable, I would think that would be easy enough to solve. All we got to do is pick it up if they need to do something.
And
Okay, I guess part
and the
2
sidewalks
is,
have to be 5 foot. That's the key right there.
Yeah, we've
right.
we've got 5.5.
Well, we got to figure out what DOT considers their right of way. And
The 5 foot is fine with DOT.
okay, so we have to make sure we present that to the other vendors there on the sidewalks in Clayton.
Right, if they want to, they can do the same thing. If they've got enough space they have to maintain the 5 foot. And I think since this COVID epidemic, more people want to eat outside. People are trying to reinvent how they can stay alive and be in business. And I think more and more people are going to try and get outside eating.
Oh, I'm all for that. Outside eating is fantastic. As long as we don't encroach on those right of ways, I think I'm fine with it.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions?
Well, I don't have any specific questions, but I'm not, I need to go and look at the property more and speak with zoning because I'm concerned. My concern is doing it for one, are we going to have this all the way down the street? And that's
We've already done it for 2 other ones.
Right, but I've been told all along that those 2 were not coming back when the new project
Well,
was
I
finished.
don't know.
Well, I've been told that a number of times from people, from boards and DOT. So
Well,
that's
if they haven't got 5 foot of sidewalk, they can't. If you've got 5.5 foot of sidewalk,
I'm happy to walk it with anybody or measure it. I mean, it's been measured a million times, and Kyle Barton has laid out the sidewalk as far as the heating and all that, so the numbers are right.
I'd be glad to look at it with you, Lori.
Yeah, I would
no
as
problem.
well, Lori.
It is to scale. The thing that I gave you is to scale. It's a foot per square. So, you know, you're welcome if you want to walk with a tape measure down there and do it, but it is to scale.
so you don't want to make a decision. You want Lori to go down and talk to Lori, see the layout, and then we'll bring it up to the next board meeting.
We're running
Yes,
a little
please.
short here, guys, because we got this sidewalk's going to be poured mid-June. And I still have to, if you disallow it, it's an entire redesign project.
Well, I can be down there tomorrow, Lori.
I can have it for you anytime you'd like.
All
Why
right.
don't you
the only problem
coordinate
is
your efforts
when's
and
your-
all go down at the same time?
When's
Okay.
your next meeting? That's my only problem.
The 26th of April.
Just that we're cutting it close as far as making a plan. I've got, you know, stuff that's got to be built, whatever. I'm probably won't even have the actual panels made. You know, I can't have them made until I get your approval.
Correct. Would the board be willing to make a decision tonight to do it pending an investigation by the 3 board members that questioned it? And if you have any issues with it, then we'll have to pull it back. But at least we haven't got to wait 2 weeks so Lori can get a plan together.
That's fine with me.
Is that okay with Jeremy and Joe?
It's
I can't
perfect.
prove something I haven't went through yet.
Well, you know, as long as she maintains that 5 foot right away for pedestrians, I'm good with it.
Okay, so we've got the 5.5 foot, and Nancy was going over, and Joe or Jeremy might go, take a look at it, walk through with it with Lori. If you have any issues, send an email and we'll have to start over again. Otherwise, we'll leave it that it's been approved and she can move forward. So we'll try to wrap it up in the next couple of days. Does that sound
That's
like a
fine.
plan?
I've got a meeting in Oswego at 2, so I'll be leaving at 12:30. But anything before 12:30 or after like 4, I'm good. Tomorrow.
Okay,
Is 9 o'clock tomorrow morning okay with everybody?
That's Ducky.
sounds like a plan. 9
No,
o'clock.
I will not be there. I have to work. So I'll have to look at my schedule.
Okay, well, you're right close by, Nancy, so you can scoot over when it's convenient.
Yeah, anytime before 12:30 is good.
Okay, will that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you
Works
very
for
much.
me.
Okay,
guys.
thank you. Thank you, Lori.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay, the next on the agenda is a police report. Does anyone have any questions on that? Didn't anybody look at that design that was in your package for the meeting from Lori?
I did.
Yes, I did.
I did, but it wasn't very clear, and to all of a sudden come to the meeting and say, hey, look at my drawings, you got to make a decision, and you guys are cutting it close. We're not cutting it close. Yeah, people had a good month or two to bring it to us. And I'm just very concerned about what other businesses will want to do.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be other people that want to try to make a living down there, and if outside does it,
Well,
I
then you're
guess.
just going to have sidewalks filled with tables. But whatever.
Okay, on the police report, does anybody have any questions or anything they want me to take to Kevin? Okay. Terry, are you on the phone here someplace?
I am here, everyone.
Okay, Terry, you're on.
You all have a copy of the activity report. As you can see, we've been quite busy in the last few weeks since our last board meeting. I've even got some picture pages on there for you to you can kind of see what we've been up to. I just wanted to bring to the attention, I see it's on the agenda, the board approval for the spring pickup ad. That's May 3rd, as we usually do it, except last year because of the COVID. One thing added to that this year that's different, I believe, is no mattresses or box springs any longer because they are considered recyclable and they cost $10 to get rid of. So they're no longer acceptable, and if they go out to the street, we will not be picking them up. So I just want everyone to know that in advance. Other than that, it's typical, no tires, no construction debris, no glass. Other than that, household goods and no electronics. It gets tricky over the years, the way things are handled, but this is what we have to do. So I guess just I got with Joanne last week. We've got a plan together for the ad for the TI Sun, and I'm not sure if she's forwarded that to you or not, but as we do it every year, we'll get it 2 weeks in advance so that everybody is on board. As you can see, everybody else has already put brush out. We've made a couple of runs, and we probably will make some more runs around to try to keep up on top of things so it doesn't swamp us all at once. The town of Clayton, of course, will always help. They will be helping with the pickup. They usually do the household good part of it, and the village does the brush pickup part of it. So again, thank you to the town for
Yeah, that's a great help. And at 6
volunteering to
o'clock
help
they
out.
start, right?
Pardon, Norma, I didn't.
6 o'clock is the start time, and they only make one pass on the street. So
That's
you better
correct.
put it up the night before and get up real early.
That's correct.
Okay.
Also, I wanted the board to know, and I think I've sent an email out, but just that John Farmer does have his date where he will be going in for back surgery, and that's April 27th. He's expected to miss 6 to 10 weeks of work, depending on his rehab and how he heals. So we'll be shorthanded by one guy, but we'll see what we can do we've done it before. Hopefully we can get through the summer and get him back on his feet, and he'll be better than new.
Boy, I hope so. He's really struggling right now. I saw him the other day, and it's tough for him to get around.
He is one tough guy, I'll tell you.
He is. He is. Terry, we've talked quite a bit about the roof on the Rotary bathrooms and trying to find somebody. Do you think that the time has come that we should put the fence up that you suggested? Like, maybe the rest of the board's not aware of what we have, but it's what we use when we have a cruise ship in. And rather than try to keep that yellow tape on that gets ripped off, I mean, we've got an eyesore across the street. I just don't want the village bathrooms to look really bad or for someone to get hurt. So do you think we should put that fence up until we're just struggling to find somebody that can do this job or wants to do it?
I think, and I'm all for putting that fence up, and I don't think it will be an eyesore. I mean, we'll set it up and make it look as neat as possible without obstructing the pole removals and the light posts and that stuff. I think we can keep it pretty tight to the stairway where you really won't even notice it. And I think it's a good idea to do just because that yellow tape is kind of
Terry, do you think we should take those benches down and put them in the park before we do that? Because I know there are some people that are attached to those benches in the summer. So if we could move those down, and that would accommodate the Rotary, I guess, and then we'll just keep hammering away at the suppliers and see if we can get a new roof on there.
Yeah. I did speak with Bud Burrell about the pavers that are on top.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a good idea, is maybe put them across on the green area over, would be on the west side towards DePrinzio's, and put them there and maybe put a couple of picnic tables on there, because there's really no dining area down in that area. It's just benches.
Right,
and, people do go down there and eat ice cream and have lunch and subs and whatnot. So I thought it was a really good idea.
Yeah, that might work.
And also, I spoke with one of the contractors that I invited down to look at that roof. And I think maybe, and I think he might be right. Being that we've got people on that roof and we really don't know what's going on underneath, maybe we should get an engineer to take a look at this so that we're doing everything the right way. And obviously, everybody's so busy, Norma, I'm sure we're not going to get it done this summer anyway. And especially with building materials are being so expensive right now, with Canada being shut down. Maybe it's a good idea if we step back and maybe have somebody engineer this, and then everybody is bidding on the same thing.
Right.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know what the board thinks about it, but when you got people involved, and you know how many people can be up there on the 4th of July, I'd hate like heck to see somebody up there.
Oh, absolutely.
Something happen. So I think it's a good idea, and maybe that's one reason why we're not getting the takers, other than they're all busy.
Okay, so let's put the fence up, get the benches down, and keep working on trying to find somebody that can do it, and have some engineer take a look at it. And we'll think about that. We might get a pro bono deal here someplace.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how this was ever designed. It was a Rotary project mostly, and grant money. And I don't even know if it's designed to have, it was designed to have a viewing deck, but by the time you put all those pavers up there, which they did later on, I don't even know if you got the capacity for people to be up there.
Right.
We got to get those things
out. And then the weight of people up on there, it's just, it's hard to say. And it's up, it's almost 20 years old.
Right.
And we don't know what's going on. Obviously, there's something going on if the railing's loose. There's something going along that perimeter of the plywood. So I guess we need to pop up a couple of those, which we were going to do today, but it rained, just to see what's going on along that
Sure.
railing. At least that'll give us some sort of an idea.
Okay, so
Get this thing buttoned up.
you're gonna put the fence up, so that'll
Yep.
be the safety issue is taken care of.
Yes.
Okay, that's great, Terry. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions for Terry?
Terry,
Yep.
I'd like to look at that with you if I could, please.
Sure. Absolutely. I appreciate it.
I'd also like to look at the river walk by the monument where it's all caved in too, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're getting
You got
closer, I think, Jeremy, on that.
Yeah,
Terry, are you still here?
My suggestion would be to secure a contractor, because these contractors are now almost years out, and I want to secure a contractor and secure the financing and get that fixed, because it looks like Clayton got punched in the face. And
Yeah.
we need to move along a little bit faster, or we're going to be last.
Yeah, and I agree, Jeremy. And again, I'm at the mercy of FEMA. And you know, this would have probably been done had we not had this pandemic. We can't meet in person. They can't come down here and look at it. I'm constantly on the phone with them. It's just getting approvals is just crazy. And
Well,
it's
I'm talking about making an alternate method of financing until be reimbursed or what have you, and secure the contractor and get this thing along. It's terrible.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Jeremy, we can't spend the money and get reimbursed until it's been approved.
That's
And
the
it's
problem.
the FEMA hang up. And every time Terry gives them no raft of stuff, somebody new from FEMA says, oh, that isn't what I want. I want this. And he's been diligent about this. And B&L is all set. So if we can just get the FEMA piece together, we can move forward.
I have handed them stuff at least 3 and 4 times. It's just, there's been so many hands in the fire. I've had so many different people involved as far as FEMA managers. You know, they're not from here. It's just, it's hard for them to understand, I guess, what we dealt with or what we have here. And, you know, and I'm upset about it. I know John Condino, who's, you know, company Barton and LaJudas have done the engineering on it. That we're ready. We're ready to go. Oh, it's not us. It's definitely not the village, and it's definitely not B&L. It's FEMA waiting for these approvals, and it keeps me awake at night. Believe me. Hello.
I think we lost Norma.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I'm turning my mic off. I forgot to turn it on. Thomas, do you want to bring us up to date on anything new and different at the wastewater treatment plant? Did Thomas leave us?
No, I'm same trouble trying to unmute myself. Sorry. Good evening, folks. Thank you for having me. First of many meetings to come. I've been at the plant. This will be my 3rd week and been slowly transitioning over everything from Star and working with Joanne and Alicia. As far as the guys, you know, the summer residents have started to return. We've gotten a number of water-ons. They've been responding diligently to those. Obviously, with the warmer weather coming, they're going to start in the next couple of weeks. We'll be going out, starting the hydrant flushing as well as manhole inspections work to try to get done in the summer when the weather's a little nicer. And also been working with B&L and getting ready for the upcoming project.
Yeah, I talked to Matt Cooper today. He's the one that's on the Ready grant for the pump station on Riverside Drive, and they're going to put it out to bid on Friday.
Yep. No, we had a conversation earlier today, and that's what it was.
Yep, and he's going to think around the 14th of May that they would open the bids. He didn't have an exact date, but by the end of this week, they'll have the bids out and the date for when they would be opened. And they would like to do it in person here in Clayton. And I don't see any reason why we can't do that. Hope we get some people to bid on it. They send it out to a lot. He thought they would have 4 or 5 solid bids on it, hopefully.
Norma, I would agree with that. We've seen a couple other projects that, some really competitive bids coming in, a lot more bids than we usually see, which is good for the village. Some of them have even, and so I'm hopeful. I think it's a good time to get this out.
Oh, good, good. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Thomas? No, thanks a lot, Star and Thomas, for keeping the sewer plant rolling with our good operators. Moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions on items 1, 2, 3, and 4? If not, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 4?
I'll make that motion.
Nancy, and do we have a second? Jeremy, Joe, somebody second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. On the capital projects, do we have any questions? Not, can we have a motion to approve item 5 for the capital projects?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Nancy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, Alicia, are you going to bring up this handbook, or do you want Joanne want me to do it?
I can. You've received the material several times now. I sent it out again on Friday, so everyone had one last chance to look at the document and the small changes that resulted as a after effect of the comments that we received from the department head's review. So I don't know if anybody has any specific questions that the policy committee can address, but we're looking to get this adopted and in place.
I'd like everybody to know that we worked on this pretty hard for 9 different sessions on 8:30 Friday mornings since last November. And this is a great project to have behind us because our handbook was way outdated. So I appreciate everybody taking a look at it once we got the draft done and they had comments on it so that we can move this forward and get it done. Joanne, do you want to present the resolution on it?
Yes.
Are you with me, Joanne?
Yeah. Hold on a second. Okay, the title of the resolution is acknowledging updates to the Village of Clayton Employee Handbook. Whereas the Village Policy Committee reviewed the draft revised employee handbook provided by the consultant, and whereas the village's department heads and trustees had an opportunity to review and the draft revised employee handbook and to offer comments, and whereas the Village Policy Committee reviewed the comments that were received and proposed additional modifications where deemed appropriate. And whereas the village board has reviewed the proposed changes to the current employee handbook, and now there be it resolved that the village Board of Trustees for the Village of Clayton, based upon the review and recommendation of the Village Policy Committee, hereby adopts the revised employee handbook attached as Exhibit A and directs the distribution and implementation of this manual effective immediately. Foregoing resolution was offered by Trustee
Trustee Hyde.
Thank you. And seconded by Trustee. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. And upon roll call vote of the board was duly adopted as follows. Norma Zimmer, Mayor.
Yes. Yes.
Nancy Hyde, Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Jeremy Kellogg, Trustee.
Yes.
Joseph Chrisman, Trustee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Okay, we've had a few things happen the last past couple weeks. Before COVID, probation department used to come down here and have a report station, and they utilize the courtroom. And they would like to come back and start doing this again. They would be here the first and third Wednesday of every month from 1:30 until 6. They normally have gone to the village office and got a key to get in, and then I'm not sure if Jamie had two different stories on what's happened. She didn't think that they turned the key back, but he said he doesn't have it. So they'd like to use the courtroom those 2 nights. I checked with Terry, and being on Tuesday night is the regular DA court. So they would be coming in on Wednesday, and they'd have to sanitize anyway for that. So he's on board with doing that. Joanne, I talked to her about it, and Jamie, the court clerk. So does anyone have any issue with them coming back to Clayton to do make this report station open again?
No, not at all.
No, I think it's, I don't know. I think they've been doing it virtually, or I don't know. But they would really like to get back on track. So should we start with the third Wednesday of this month? Tell them they could start. Would that work for everybody?
As
Absolutely.
long as it doesn't
Okay.
conflict with anything we have, sure.
No, it does. It's actually in the courtroom, and Jamie, the court clerk, she's fine. And this is the same schedule they had when they were doing it pre-COVID. So if it's okay with the board, I'll give them a call tomorrow and tell them they can start coming, okay? Thank you. Okay, what else we got here? The historic project, they came back on the 5th. They're working mostly here on James Street. I noticed today they were taking the wires down. West Telecom was a little behind in getting their conversion done, so that's why the poles aren't down and the wires, but they were working on it today, so I think in a couple of weeks that portion of it will be done. And the Lock Brothers, I don't think they worked this afternoon, but maybe it was too rainy. But most of their work right now is here on James Street to tie in the sanitary laterals and get the water line in. So they're hoping to be out of here the 4th of July. So that's good. Got a little letter here from Trustee Bador that he left at the village office, and he addressed it to me and to the board to tell us that as of April 7th, he was moving from 412 Mary Street outside the village. And due to the village regulations, he could no longer legally serve as a village trustee. So he's resigning as of April 7th, 2021. and he appreciated the opportunity to be on the board. He felt it was a privilege and an honor. And if we have any questions or anything, he would be willing to give us, call him if anything that's happened prior while he was around and we'd like to discuss it with him. He'd like to stay in touch with everybody. He felt bad, but it was an opportunity for him to move outside the village, and he sold his house within 9 hours. So he didn't have a lot of time to make up his mind to do something different. So I appreciate the service that Steve did for the village board, and wish him well and happiness in his new home. So that takes care of that. Clayton Local Development, we had a meeting last week. They just had their annual audit done. And it was fun. I mean, they just don't have a lot, but it's mostly on the grants that they auditing, and the $1 million grant, of course, is still open as part of this historic project. But they had no non-compliance and everything was in order up there. So that was good. The Chamber of Commerce, they're going to do the vintage snowmobile show this Saturday down at the hotel. They had changed it from last March because of the COVID restrictions. They're hoping that they'll get a turnout down there this Saturday. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. Everybody's raking their lawn about now. And we want to remind you, Saturday is also the blood drive at the municipal building at 10 o'clock, 10 until 3, I believe. So that will take care of that. Does anyone on the board have anything they want to share? Anyone in the public? I'm sorry.
Well, this is Joe Chrisman. So Stevie stepping down opens it up for anybody that wants to run for village board, correct? And there'll be election this November?
Yes, they'd have to run in November. We can appoint somebody between now and November.
Right, but anybody that wants to step up to run, they can.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Okay.
I think, I don't know if they can still get on. I think the petitions were for the primary.
Correct.
That's in June.
Long as it's within 75 or exceed 75 days, then anybody can run. And I'm just putting that out there for anybody that does want to be on the village board. Number 2 is I think that we should start having public meetings in person. One, when we go into executive session, there's no way to come back to a public meeting, which is by law we're supposed to do to close the regular meeting. So I think by coming back into public meetings, and there's plenty of room down there at the village office to do this. That's just my recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Joe. We'll have to take that into consideration and see what the rules are and what we can do. I think we're starting to be more comfortable. We're going to have probation come. We're going to, we're getting there. We're getting there. Anybody else on the board?
Does everybody on the board have their shot?
I've got 2. I'm good to go.
Well,
same
not
here.
everybody on the board is required to have a shot if you had COVID. So I know I had COVID, so I don't get the shot yet.
Well, I think it's something we've got to take into consideration. I guess in my mind, I was thinking that certainly by the 1st of June, when we start a new budget, new everything, start fresh and see what we got to do, see what the rules are at that time, and get back to normal would be great.
Well, plus, is it even legal to ask people if they've had shots? You got to look out for HIPAA violations. So You got to make sure you can or can't ask.
Anyone else?
Let's pretend I didn't ask.
Okay, we just
I'm
got
just-
ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
No problem. We could. I keep losing this meeting, so I'm.
Yeah, I'm losing you, Jeremy. Is there anyone else there in the public that's got any questions? Left down the line? If not, I'd ask you to please hang up because we've got to have a real quick executive session.
Norma, are you going to state the purpose for the executive
Oh,
session?
I'm sorry. Yes, it was on the agenda. It's over the boundary dispute up on Bartlett Point.
Are you going to do a motion and second to go in?
I'm waiting for one.
Okay.
I'll make the motion for executive session.
Thank you, Nancy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.
Did Alicia come back on?
I did. You have to record your open meeting.
Correct, and I didn't know if you were still there, so you could, so I wasn't going to open it back up.
Nope, you got it.
So, Joe, do you want to bring up that issue again, now that we're back
Well-
into?
Well, now we're back at public meeting and everybody already hung up, is my point. So it's kind of hard to come back to a public meeting when there's no public back.
Okay, so it's in the minutes.
This is why I'm requesting to go back in person to have our meetings instead of the way we're doing it now. Because everything's opening back up, everybody's taking the precautions, and they know what to do now with all the COVID.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Does somebody want to make a motion to close the regular meeting? Come on,
I'll
Nancy,
make
you're
the
good at
motion to
this.
close.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Do we have a second?
Oh, one more thing. I am so sorry. I am full of questions tonight, and I apologize. Did we get any applications in for the position at the village office?
Yes, it's open until the 15th of April to accept them,
Okay,
and
so-
I think we have 7.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much.
Sure. Are we all set now? Did we get a second to close the meeting?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody. We got some work to do to get Paul's questions answered, but we can do that.